On the 27th of August 2024, 2 days before the anniversary of their debut album Definitely Maybe, Oasis announced that they were reuniting to go on tour. According to The Guardian, it was the most anticipated tour of the century. This announcement was huge. 90s lads, ladettes, chavs and mates, everybody was reunited and happy to see Oasis on tour again.
Have some beers, yeah!
An equal amount of people were not so happy about this announcement, citing that the 90s were a toxic time.
And you can't get into these sort of clothes.
Because you're too fat. Because you're too enormous.
Britpop was kicking off, 4 Weddings had just come out. It was mental.
Yeah, I kind of see where they're coming from. Initially, 17 dates across the UK and Ireland were announced, but the demand was so high that quickly more dates were added. That included 5 dates at Wembley Stadium. On the 31st of August, 9 AM, a total of 1.4 million tickets were released to Ticketmaster, Live Nation and Oasis's homepage. For the first round of released tickets, it's estimated that around 14 million people went online to try and secure themselves some, most notably from Ticketmaster. But other sites, such as C-Tickets and Gigs and Tours, also had a higher number of visitors than usual. By 7 o'clock of the same day, Oasis announced that every single show had been sold out. Ah, what lucky few who got the chance to secure tickets to see Oasis. But some people reported having some issues. People reported having over 1 million people ahead of them in the queue. Some people were in line for a queue. Dynamic pricing was also in effect. Some users complained that standing tickets were advertised for £148. They had actually risen to over £400 by the time they got to the checkout. While reselling tickets is not illegal in the UK, some promoters actually have a policy in place that resold tickets such as Viago and StubHub can be denied entry to certain gigs. Other people reported that once a seat was selected, if they managed to get to the map with the stadium on it, they only had about 90 seconds to make their choice, click on checkout and complete the transaction.
Ticketmaster was brutal.
On the 1st of September, Louder Sound reported that 2 nosebleed seat tickets were available for £23,000 each.
I'm so shocked.
The situation got so bad that the Markets Authority launched their own investigation as to whether or not Ticketmaster had broken the law. In March of 25, they concluded that Ticketmaster had not adhered to UK law. Ticketmaster's response was to cancel 50,000 of the resold tickets and to simply put those back on their site. However, they did defend their use of dynamic pricing. Meanwhile, the government's own investigation was still ongoing. The Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, has written to Ticketmaster and threatened not with an investigation, but with a class action lawsuit, saying, having carefully considered Ticketmaster's response, the CMA's view is that there is a fundamental disagreement about whether Ticketmaster's practices infringed consumer law. The CMA is concerned of whether Ticketmaster has breached consumer protection law by labelling certain seats as platinum and selling them for almost 2.5 times as much as a regular ticket. Ticketmaster has responded and said they have made some changes to the way they sell their tickets.
Okay, so the conclusion is that your policy was misleading to the consumer.
The word dynamic was unhelpful, yes.
The next issue with live music. Live Nation and Ticketmaster merged in 2010. The merged company now owns an estimated 80% of the ticketing and live event venues market. Since owning a monopoly in the US is not illegal, Ticketmaster have not breached any law. One of the clauses in that merger of 2010 was that Live Nation is not allowed to retaliate or act maliciously towards any venue that uses a different ticketing system other than Ticketmaster. So, in other words, abusing a monopoly system.
Over the last year, people have been traveling to Europe to go see Taylor Swift because you can pay for your plane tickets, your hotel, your visit there, and the tickets cheaper than you can buy tickets here in the United States.
In 2019, Ticketmaster was already hit with an antitrust investigation. Tickets for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour went on sale in 2022. A class action lawsuit was filed against Ticketmaster in late 22, citing they had created a barrier to entry in the market for primary ticketing services for major concert venues. The promoter for Taylor Swift was AEG. They are quoted as saying, Ticketmaster's exclusive deals with the vast majority of venues on the Eras Tour required us to ticket through their system.
Everybody knew going into this there weren't going to be enough tickets for all the buyers, but what people wanted was a fair process.
Now, not getting to see Taylor Swift is not the worst thing to ever happen to anyone.
It's just not fair, damn it!
But it is a symptom of a larger problem. The next issue of Live Nation is that they are pretty much the only platform which you can use to get tickets for. They are also responsible for production, organization and marketing of events. This is simply due to the fact that Live Nation owns a lot of the venues. So it's an absolute monopoly in the States. A monopoly means that one company, in this case Live Nation, has exclusive access and control to all the available tickets. In Europe, it's not quite as bleak. Here, Ticketmaster has to show what the total cost will be before the checkout. Service fees may be applicable, but nowhere near in the $40 range. Another issue are the rising rent costs and cost of living crisis everywhere. Many clubs and pubs just can't stay afloat anymore.
So here we are in South London. We're visiting a venue called Eclectic, and this is the latest venue that's going to be closed in London.
In short, anything that isn't owned by Live Nation is in jeopardy. Live Nation's control over venues, ticketing and artist management creates a competitive disadvantage for smaller venues, nightclubs and pubs.
Do you think Ticketmaster is entitled to a profit?
I think our main concern is, are we entitled to use a different company other than Ticketmaster? And
Back in the day, an artist used to make money through putting out an album and singles. Typically, a newer artist would get around 10% of an album sale, and more established artists could ask for 25%. But since we've all been streaming music for such a long time now, artists don't really make a lot of money that way anymore. Albums are no longer seen as a reliable source of income for artists, but rather as an opportunity to promote an upcoming tour. Since there is so little money to be made from selling CDs, and streaming revenues are so small, more and more artists are being forced to go on tour. You've probably noticed that since 22, 23, everyone and their mama is on tour. This is due to the fact that many artists are broke. Not you and I broke, but broke for their standards. The pandemic forced everything into shutdown for at least 18 months. Pre-booked tours had to be rescheduled or cancelled, and not everybody takes out insurance that covers pandemics. With pop and hip hop being so aggressive nowadays and not very subtle, what do people do? They start producing country music. Take Beyonce for example. Beyonce is not the first person from a traditionally pop and R&B trajectory to stare off and put out a country album. She had to tour directly after a Renaissance tour because she needs the money. A lot of mid-tier artists can make a decent wage through touring and performing live. They usually play venues of up to 2,000 people and have a loyal fan base. And they will never go much more above that, but they will also not completely fall off the radar due to their fan base. Another change is that people aren't drinking as much as they used to. This means that their main source of income can no longer sustain the cost of running the venue. A higher cost of touring is also responsible for the increased ticket price. A lot of people are willing to spend more on an expensive A-lister nowadays than what they used to be. Ticketmaster knows this and takes advantage of it. Back in the 2000s, everyone had their own taste. If you like punk, you listen to punk. If you liked hip-hop, you listen to hip-hop. Nowadays though, because we're streaming music, more and more people from different genres are listening to cross-genre music, which is something you had to consciously seek out back in the 2000s. Another factor is that people are spending their money for festivals instead. Being from the UK, I'm pretty much spoiled for choice when it comes to festivals. With ticket prices for a 3-day weekend, typically from £280 to £300, it's actually proportionately cheaper to go to a festival than it is to go to a tour stop of an artist. It is reckoned that festivals are pretty much recession-proof and will be the last to go when it comes to live music. But even Coachella is feeling the effects of reduced ticket sales. With more and more artists competing for your money, the standard in live performing has increased. So unless it's two artists you're seeing, such as 50 Cent and Mary J, or Post Malone and Jelly Roll, it's not something a lot of people can easily afford and enjoy. So the question of accessibility is also there.
I need more money.
Last but not least, with aging OGs across every genre, we want to see as many people as we can before it's too late, and not have Live Nation get in the way of that.